Voters across Edmonton will have their say today on who will represent us federally when they choose the MPs for 9 ridings in our city. And joining us right now with his take on how the votes will go is Brendan Boyd from the Political Science Department at MacEwan University. Now, Brendan, we saw a record number of voters turn out for the advanced poll. Do you expect the same for Edmonton today?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, right? There could be a couple of things going on. One of the things is that, in fact, people are more interested in this election, whether it's because it's a tight race or whether it's partly because of people just being more aware of politics with, you know, the whole sort of Trump factor south of the border, which could be driving overall higher participation in the election. But it also could be that, you know, more people are voting in advanced polls, and so that we might not see overall a higher participation rate, but just that more people tend to be voting in that period where there are advanced polls. So it's hard to say, really. We'll have to wait probably until tomorrow or even further on to know whether there actually are more people interested in this election.
Now, Alberta typically votes Conservative federally. Do you believe the Trump tariffs and Trump's 51st state rhetoric will change that here in our province?
Yeah, you know, the Liberals are polling higher than they have sort of previously, which, you know, is somewhat unexpected, as you say, in this sort of traditionally Conservative province. But remember that those margins are pretty big, have traditionally been pretty big. And so, you know, there are a lot of ridings that maybe look a little bit closer, particularly in Calgary and Edmonton. My sense would be in the end, we might see that, you know, maybe the gap has narrowed, but that you would still see a lot of those toss-ups end up going Conservatives. I don't necessarily see the red wave in Edmonton and in Alberta that some have predicted, but certainly I think, you know, there's a few more that are in play than have been previously.
Now, Edmonton is home to 2 NDP ridings. Do you see that changing?
Well, I think Heather McPherson's riding in Edmonton Strathcona looks fairly safe. The one Edmonton Griesbach is going to be a lot closer. I think that one is potentially in contest. You know, we've seen nationally the nationally the NDP, you know, sort of doing a lot lower, polling a lot lower than they would have previously, and I think that has an impact in the local elections here. So I think that one's probably in play.
What other ridings are you watching here at Edmonton?
Yeah, so I think I'm watching Edmonton Centre, where you have, you know, the Liberal Party held it last election, but you do have a strong candidate for the NDP in that election, and so, you know, I think all 3 parties maybe have a reason to be optimistic there, in the sense that if the NDP and the Liberals tend to split, then do the Conservatives have a potential to come up the middle? So yeah, I think that one's an interesting one. Obviously, I think everyone will be watching Edmonton Southeast, the former mayor, or the mayor bid to become the MP there. I think people will be watching that one closely as well.
And finally, what do you expect the outcome to be tonight? Yeah,
I mean, I don't like to predict, you know, too much, but obviously it looks like the polls are showing that, you know, there's a good chance of the Liberals being able to form a government. I think, you know, Liberal, whether it's a majority or a minority, I think my guess would be it'll either be a slim majority or a minority for the Liberals, I think, when everything's said and done tonight.
Well, we're going to have to wait and see for that result. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, Brendan. Now, polling stations in Edmonton open in just a few minutes, and we'll have more on Election Day stories coming up.